Happy Wednesday.
Good morning.
How are you, Tyler? You seem a little out of sorts today. What's going on?
It was a wild day yesterday, and it's off to a wild start today. So you know what? We'll just I'll keep taking the punches. You know, it's gonna swing harder. That's my reaction.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, it's okay.
Sorry, my headphones aren't working.
Yeah, mine weren't working yesterday either. I was doing another production, and they just all of a sudden went out, so I had to run another rigmarole back around here. Now I can hear us fine.
So you can hear.
Can you hear? Oh.
But you know what? You just keep going, Tyler.
I'll keep going then.
There you
just don't
go,
unplug
Tyler.
anything down there, because that's one of the key parts of getting us on the air each and every day. Good morning, I'm Tyler Keefe alongside Ronnie Dahl. This is the Oakland County Megacast on a family of TV, radio, and other media outlets all throughout the local area. Each and every day we bring you news about, of course, coronavirus and all that's happening with that, as well as other important news topics from around Oakland County and the state of Michigan each and every day, talking with a variety of interesting guests from a variety of areas also, so that you can kind of get a full scope of what's going on in the community right now, whether it's related to COVID-19 or not, and get in-depth information from experts and newsmakers all throughout the area.
Well, pretty much everything is related to COVID-19 because it impacts and touches every single possible part of our lives right now. But today, I will say a little bit of a lighter day for everyone.
That's nice.
Our guests that are scheduled for today, a little bit lighter, but for so many of them, they are still having a hard time. So we'll be speaking with some people from some local museums, as well as Bronner's Christmas Wonderland. That is like a must-visit spot. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're doing right now. The one serious subject interviewee that we have on today's show is going to be Dr. Taweel. He's our resident expert. It'd be great to speak with him because, of course, right now one of the big things coming out of the news is about the uptick in some of the cases that are going on right now in the state of Michigan. And with that, we'll go ahead and start our headlines as the concern is growing with cases on the rise. Michigan added 1,237 new coronavirus cases and 30 more deaths on Tuesday, putting October on pace to generate Michigan's biggest month for new cases since April. That's when the virus peaked in the state. Daily average for new cases has increased each month since June. The state is averaging about 89 cases per million people per day. More tests are coming back positive. More residents are being hospitalized for the virus. Michigan now has 3.6% of COVID-19 tests returned positive, compared with less than 3% in June. That's according to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. While summer spikes in numbers largely involved younger people, the state is starting to see an uptick of infections in its older population. One of the reasons could be is that more and more people, they're saying, are starting to have family gatherings, but also having those gatherings inside.
Yeah, I think people are starting to get, again, complacent with COVID-19. It's happened a couple times before in the state, certainly after the 4th of July, or just before the 4th of July weekend, and then a couple weeks following the 4th of July, we had the situation where we had a significant uptick at that point, and it's happening again now as we approach we are approaching the 2-week mark since the governor's orders were struck down officially by the Supreme Court. And of course, yesterday they had fully struck down. They had clarified that those were immediate changes. So maybe that's an inspiration for people to let their guard down a little bit. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just that we've been in this for 7 months and people are tired of it, and we've had the case numbers each day and the death toll stay relatively low as of late, and people are starting to get to a point where they're letting their guard down, kind of forgetting some of those precautions, and we have an uptick in cases because of it. We'll see if it continues.
Yesterday, Tyler, you said it's time for the lawmakers to get to work. Well, it looks like that's what they've been doing. Michigan lawmakers approved a COVID-19 response plan early this morning. This comes after you just mentioned the Supreme Court struck down Governor Gretchen Whitmer's coronavirus-related executive orders. So they passed a series of bills. Some of the things they're addressing: unemployment benefits to extend them up to 26 weeks for the eligible workers, allow the local government, school boards, and other public bodies with a method to meet electronically if necessary to conduct business and engage with the public. We have seen this week many communities have been starting to cancel some of their public meetings because they were via Zoom. So this would allow for them to be able to continue that. Also included in the series of bills, extending the expiration deadlines for Michigan's driver's licenses and vehicle registrations all the way up until December 31st, and a bill aimed at reducing the spread of COVID-19 in nursing homes. These bills now go to the governor for her signature. So far, no word as to if she's going to sign them all or where she kind of stands in some of these.
Yeah, I would imagine some will be signed and others that are more directly related to COVID-19, the virus itself, may get some pushback. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe this will be a bipartisan effort that happens quickly in Lansing. And I'm not used to making jokes on the Oakland County Megacast, but I guess I'll let that one slide through because there's very little chance that happens. But it's nice to see that they did take some action on this, particularly for these communities that are trying to continue to do their regular business. In fact, this week, just yesterday, Sylvan Lake announced they were postponing their city council meeting that was scheduled for tonight via Zoom until next week, Wednesday, to give the lawmakers some time to potentially pass a bill regarding the modifications of the Open Meetings Act that were related to one of the governor's executive orders that, of course, was declared fully struck down with the clarification on Monday. And other communities have had continued on, such as West Bloomfield, with their municipal meetings, and it was one of those decisions where you had the information in hand, and it's up to these municipalities and their legal teams to decide whether or not to go forward. Many taking extreme precautions and canceling their meetings so as to try to avoid entirely any discrepancies in whether or not those meetings were allowed to take place. And with this bill passing, should it be signed by the governor, that of course would cover that.
Let's hope it gets done today so people can continue on. I found this one interesting, so I just had to throw it in because, it's about rats. 3 Michigan cities make the list of top rat-infested cities. COVID is partially to blame. You're curious now, aren't you?
I am.
3 Michigan cities are among the top 50 rattiest cities in the United States this year, a year that saw increased rodent activity, according to the pest control company Orkin. While Chicago was named the most rat-infested city in the country, kind of surprised. Usually New York takes that spot. Okay. Detroit came in at number 6, Grand Rapids 29, Flint 42. COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic caused increased rodent visibility at restaurant closures forced them to find new food sources, according to the release. Without restaurant food waste, they were seen scavenging new areas and exhibiting unusual or aggressive behavior as they searched out areas for that new food service or that new food source. I've been downtown Detroit in the early mornings, and I will tell you some of the rats are like that.
Oh, city
big.
Rats are big rats. Yeah, no matter what city you're in, a city rat's a big rat. Those are smart. They're smart. They'll find stuff, and they grow.
But it's interesting, while we have had other parts of the country, I feel like this year we've seen so many more deer in our neighborhood than previous years, and hanging out in our backyards. I mean, they're just like our new friends, They were drinking out of our little pond yesterday. We had to chase them out. But also you saw the stories in Italy where, they saw the return of so many Mother Nature areas. And in Venice, the river was clean for the first time in so many years. So there is a little bit of an uptick for the environment in this pandemic, and that we are seeing a return of some animals to the natural habitats. And unfortunately, though, it's also bringing out the rats.
Well, it's an interesting story. You did pique my interest with it.
Right? Especially when you were like, how does that relate to COVID?
We'll find out. It's always something that relates to it.
So you'll find those stories and so much more over on civiccentertv.com. Just click on the coronavirus tab. Tyler and I are going to take a quick break here on the Megacast, and when we come back, we have a lot to get to, but we'll start off the show with speaking with the executive director of one of Detroit's historic landmarks. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Hi, my name is Kurt Lawson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for West Bloomfield Township. We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Park's COVID-19 help hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
As rivals, we don't always see eye to eye.
Like who scored the best recruits?
Who's gonna be who?
And whether we wear green
or blue.
But one thing we can all agree on to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Wear a mask.
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 The ball's in your court, Michigan.
Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards, back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart, keep wearing a mask in public, and if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus.
Thank you for tuning in to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios of CivicCenterTV.com and 89.3 Lakes FM in the greater West Bloomfield area. We want to say thank you for joining us here in the studio each and every day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon. You can also catch us today, Facebook streaming, the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce, streaming us live on their Facebook page. So we want to say thank you to them. We try to make it easy for you to access the show and access all the great interviews that we have each and every day. And we're excited to bring in Steve McBride, kicking off the show. He's the executive director of Pewabic Pottery in Detroit, a definite landmark in the city of Detroit and such a gem for us to have in our backyard. Thank you for being with us, Steve.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
How are things going at the pottery shop during the middle of a pandemic? Because I know so much of what you all do there is focused on outreach in the community.
It really is, and that's been challenging. We're kind of back in business, but we were shut down for a couple of months and not able to do, any production work back in the spring. But we've gradually been able to open up, our production, our tile making and pottery vessel making, and with our stores open now, we've got slightly limited hours. We're open right now Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 5 downtown, but we've been doing, a lot more online web sales. We haven't done, a lot of what we do here are like, tours and workshops and, outreach to the community. And that's been really challenging. That's been limited. But, we're back up and running, and it's a great time to come down. You can shop in the store. You can shop online. We offer curbside delivery. And, just a good way to preserve this National Historic Landmark pottery.
Yeah, you've been in business for well over 100 years, probably like 115, 117 years now.
Yep,
that you've been.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me, right?
It really is. I mean, there's truly nothing else like it in the country. I mean, there are other old historic potteries, but none that are still like a contemporary working pottery in their original facility. So this was, this building was built to be the pottery in 1907. Pewabic was founded in 1903. But we've been, making pottery and tile here ever since. So we're, I like to say we're Detroit's National Historic Landmark pottery. And so people, if you haven't been down here, people have at least seen Pewabic pottery. You see their tile all over the city and kind of across the nation. But, of course, out in your neck of the woods, Cranbrook is filled with Pewabic tile. But, you can drive Woodward Avenue in this area and you can see like 100 years of Pewabic history because, from the early days with the Guardian building and the DIA and the public library, right up through, we've done, Comerica Park, all the tiles you can see on the outside of Comerica Park are Pewabic. We did Little Caesars Arena a couple of years ago, all the tiles in the Q Line station. And we made the tiles, like, for example, Little Caesars Arena, we made all the tiles in our 1912 clay mixer, the same mixer that was used to make the tile for the Guardian building. So it's an amazing story. It's a really cool place. Typically people can come down here and you can, shop our store and you would normally be able to like walk back and see, where we make things and how we make things. And we have limited access to our production area right now, just to try to preserve, safety for our staff. But you can still come down and you can see we've got, historic galleries upstairs where you can see some of the pottery from the early 1900s that was made here. You can shop the Pewabic store in our front retail room. And then we also have pottery and ceramic art from artists from all across North America. And that's all visible. And then, right now I'm sitting in our tile showroom, which is, a big part of what we do is make architectural tile. And so like the tile that you see downtown, we do a lot of work in homes and, businesses. And that's an area that has really actually been not seen any decrease because as people have stayed home during the COVID crisis, I think they're looking around and saying, oh, I've always wanted to do a backsplash or a fireplace surround. And so, that part we've seen just a lot of interest in our architectural tile.
Yeah, I think people forget that you are a business as well. What do you think makes your shop so special that it's lasted all of this time?
I think it's a couple of things. One is it's just, there's a real craving for, people like knowing how things were made and knowing that they can see where it was done. When Pewabic was founded, it was the heart of the arts and crafts movement in America. And that was, really a reaction against the industrial age. And it was, an urge to get back to where you could feel the hand of the maker in the work. And, we see that now as there's just as much interest, we call it like kind of the reaction to the virtual age because, people have so much, disconnect with what they use and what they make. And so to be able to come down and see things and know that, we're making it now with traditional techniques that we've been using for 100 years and you can actually see where it's made. It's exciting to be able to connect that way with, where the work is created. And I think the fact that, there's such a strong connection with this region that people, know that they can travel around, they see Pewabic in different buildings and on the face of all over this city. And it just gives a real sense of connection with this is our pottery. This is the local pottery that has been serving this region for so long. And we just had tremendous support from the community.
I've been into so many abandoned houses in Detroit, and it breaks your heart to see so much of the beautiful pottery still in the homes. Everything around them has been stripped, but they haven't figured out how to get the pottery out. And it would be sitting like aligning the tile. And I think in those cases, you would see that this was a part of this community, but it was for everyone, not just the rich as well.
It really was. And, in the early days, dating back to the teens and the 20s, we did a lot of work in public schools. And so you can travel all around the region. You can see, public schools with old, iridescent Pewabic drinking fountains in the hallway. And, even in the early days, our founder, Meg Chase Perry Stratton, would go into the schools, work with the students. They'd help design these installations. And, it was really a connection with the students. We still try to do that today. So we do a lot of work for like decades. We've been working, in Detroit public schools. We're an official Pathways partner in the arts program. And so we work closely. We have, intensive workshops that we go in and work with students. And it's really about, connecting people with their own, creativity. And to me, that again is one of the exciting things about Pewabic is, it's so often you can travel downtown, you can, see Comerica Park and you see the beautiful details and the sculpted baseballs and things around the stadium. But to know that, oh, I know where that was made. And, I can actually see how that was made. And we can go into schools and we can work with students and they can get a connection with that. And it just changes your relationship with your place. It changes your relationship with the city that you live in and where some of these incredible art installations just don't feel so distant and removed anymore.
Plus, it makes people understand that, maybe that's a career path that they can go into. These paths are still available to people. This isn't something from the 1900s, and it's not something made by a big machine. That maybe it opens up an avenue to explore and spark that creativity, especially in the younger generation.
Absolutely. And, in all ages. I mean, we've got our education studio right here on site where we teach classes. And we've had, a number of students come through over the years that, will come through, take classes for a while, and then open their own studio. And there are actually some, big tile studios and independent artists that, have gotten their training right here at Pewabic.
So are those classes still being offered? I would imagine they're on hold right now. But are you guys trying to do anything virtually to keep the interest alive?
We've done some virtual classes. We've had an online Google Classroom and virtual classroom for our students. Right now, we've implemented a lot of things to try to make it possible to continue work during this pandemic. So we've reduced the number of wheels in our classroom space, and we put in plexiglass dividers, and we've limited. Right now, we're offering kind of a limited opportunity of kind of independent study. So we're not offering full classes, but we do let some of the students that have been taking classes here, come in for 3-hour blocks, and then, in very limited numbers and spaced with plexiglass dividers. So we're doing some of the education that we've offered in the past, but we're hoping to get classes back up and running, depending on how this pandemic pans out, hopefully by the winter time, we'll be able to begin offering classes again.
Now and in more normal times, Steve McBride from Pewabic Pottery, Executive Director of Pewabic Pottery, who is able to take these classes? Are these open to the general public? Are these those that maybe are training to be pottery artists at Pewabic? Who are these classes open to, and how do people get involved?
These are open to the general public. So we, typically we would offer 8-week classes, and we offer them year round. So you just go on our website, www.pewabic.org, and you can, register for an 8-week session. And then, we've had students that come in, brand new every term, and we've got some that have been taking classes for years. And it's kind of just fits, people's, what their needs and interests are. We have, wonderful teachers. A lot of our teachers are, artisans that also make Pewabic ware, and so it's a good opportunity to kind of see how we do things. We also offer some one-shot options. So we typically would do something. Again, this is not right now, but hopefully, as soon as we can, we'll be offering again our what we call Friday Night Out, where people can come and do a class where they can just come and learn how to make a tile the way we traditionally make tiles. They'll learn how to press an art tile and then glaze it, and then get a memento to take home with them. And it's a wonderful way just to try it out and see how you feel about it. We do, when we get back to full operation, hopefully we'll have tours again. People can come. We do a self-guided walking tour where people can go through and just see the production area and see how we make stuff. And then we also do docent guided tours for minimal cost, where people can come and experience, kind of get the history of the place, and then talk to some of our makers.
Steve, you had mentioned that your retail side is actually up because so many people are spending more time at home. And I will say, because I want to replace the entire tile back in my home, I'm driving my husband crazy with that because we just put it in a few years ago. But of course, I want the new updated subway tile that is so popular right now. Do you think people being at home and watching so many of these home improvement shows is sparking interest in trying to redo some of the, rooms in their home?
I'm sure it is. And I think, people have really, one thing that this, the stay-at-home lifestyle is caused is people are really paying a little bit more attention to their surroundings. And yeah, I think there's been a lot of interest in the DIY improvement shows, home improvements. And of course, Pewabic was on This Old House a few years ago, and Under the Radar, Michigan. And so, we had people come in and kind of showcase to the world what we do here. And yeah, I think it's a wonderful opportunity for people to think about okay, if I'm going to be spending so much more time in this space, what's going to make it more inviting and more inspiring. And So we get people that have said, they've been dreaming about a Pewabic fireplace or, Pewabic backsplash, or they wanted to redo their floor, and they've been doing this thinking about it for years, and now's the time to actually pull the trigger.
So when they come into your studio, or even do I would imagine you can do like a virtual consultation as well. Do they help design the backdrop that they want, or is that pretty much put together by your team?
No, it's a collaboration. So we've got a team of designers, and so you can learn about it by going onto the website, and we do virtual. We can do video consultations, phone consultations, in-person consultations. We even have a beautiful courtyard, so while the weather's still nice, people can sit and meet out in our courtyard and talk about what they want. And so customers, will come in and just talk about what it is that they're looking to do, and talk. We offer like the first hour consultation with our designer is free, and then if you decide to move forward, then we'll do a design, and it kind of sometimes goes back and forth, and then eventually come up with the design that is the dream design for the client, and then we'll move forward to make it. And everything is made from scratch. So once we get the design, then we actually start making the tile and firing the tile and glazing the tile, and then either people can come and do curbside delivery, or we can do shipping. We do tile for all over the country. We ship nationwide, and Pewabic is best known around Detroit because of all the installations we've done here. But we've done tile installations, some of major tile installations. The biggest one Pewabic ever did is the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception in Washington, D.C. That was a project that took 7 years to complete. It's the old domes of the Crypt Church. But we've done tile in Shed Aquarium in Chicago and the Nebraska State Capitol, and of course, a lot of it is you can come in and just, check out the beautiful pottery, pottery and art tiles that we offer in our store, and check out the ceramic art from other artists from all across North America. So it's a great way to, think about, the things that make your day a little bit more pleasant. And so we always believe that a little art in your life makes it a little richer.
Steve McBride with us, the Executive Director of Pewabic Pottery, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast this morning. Steve, just another couple of minutes with you, another few minutes with you before we have to let you go. Is there anything else about Pewabic that you would like to tell our audience today, or any other important information that they should know before we say goodbye?
It's just, one of the things that we've seen is there's, a lot of interest in supporting kind of local businesses, and you don't really get any more local than Pewabic. We've been making pottery and tile in Detroit since 1903. We were founded the same year as Ford Motor Company, if that kind of puts it in context. We've been operating as a nonprofit since 1981, an independent 501c3, but we still, make, pottery and tile, and, you can go online. We offer, most of what we do, you can see kind of what's available on our website, and come down and see the beautiful work in person, or you can shop online. We can, ship, or you can come for curbside delivery, or just come to the store and pick up. It's a great way to support Detroit and an authentic, Detroit legacy. It's been challenging. Last year we had over 52,000 visitors. So we don't, right now we're certainly not having the foot traffic that we would normally have, which is causing, some financial challenges. We don't have, as strong a retail stream. Typically, we're a nonprofit, but, over 75% of our budget comes from earned revenue from the pottery and tile that we make and sell. So it's, it's hard in that respect. And so, any support that people can do is wonderful to help keep this organization going. So it's, we do somewhat joke, say this isn't our first pandemic, because Pewabic was around, back in the pandemic of the early 1900s. It's, survived, the pottery has, withstood the Great Depression and, two world wars. And so it's like gotten tremendous support, but, it's like that's really a legacy and a testament to the support that we've gotten from the community. So we appreciate everybody that has, come in to shop, joined memberships, made donations. So just to keep this tradition going, we appreciate everything that people have done. So whether it's shopping, becoming a member, making a donation, just go online, check it out, and come on down and visit the store.
Steve, we are going into the holiday shopping season. Prime is kicking it off a little bit earlier this year. I would imagine this is a great gift for someone, especially for relatives that maybe grew up in Metro Detroit or the Detroit area, to send to them. I know that a couple years ago you did one that marked Eastern Market. Do you have any new designs coming out to kind of, highlight Detroit this year, that for the people that collect the tiles, for them to try to get their hands on?
Yeah, and that Eastern Market tile is part of our what we call the Postcards from Detroit series. And so in that series, they're beautiful, like 5x7, hand painted tiles. We've got the Belle Isle Bridge, we've got Eastern Market, we've got the Guardian Building. We just released one this year on the DIA that's just a beautiful tile. It's the facade of the DIA that's just the thinker out in front. We've also got some beautiful like Michigan tiles. We've got a Postcards from Michigan tile that's the Sleep Bear Dunes. So they're really, and we've got a new Motor City tile for car lovers. So it really is a great Detroit gift. And like anything from a coffee mug to one of these beautiful Detroit art tiles to larger, we offer some beautiful like framed one of a kind art tiles. Lamps. I mean, just it's really, there's a great variety of things to do, but it all represents this Detroit legacy.
And quickly give out your website for people if they want to order something.
Yeah, it's www.pewabic.org. So PEWABIC and then ORG.
Quick and easy. Steve, thank you so much for being with us. It's been great speaking with you, and we wish you all the best of luck because you are an iconic part of Detroit and our history, and we're wishing you and your team the best as we continue to navigate this pandemic.
Well, thanks so much. It was fun being here.
We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast, and when we come back, we are going to be not sipping some booze, but maybe but talking about booze. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Hi, I'm Dr. Faust, the Medical Director for the Oakland County Health Division. The most important thing you can do to prevent the spread of illness is to wash your hands thoroughly and often. Follow these 6 easy steps every time you wash your hands. Step 1, turn on the sink and wet your hands with warm water. Step 2, apply soap to your hands and lather between your fingers, under your nails, and the front and back of your hands and wrists. Step 3, wash your hands by scrubbing them together for at least 20 seconds. Step 4, rinse your hands with warm, clean water. And step 5, dry your hands with a clean cloth towel, a paper towel, or hot air blow dryer. If you're using a cloth towel, make sure to change it often. For handheld faucets, turn off the water using a paper towel instead of your bare hand. Step 6, if you're using a paper towel, throw it away. Practice healthy habits like washing your hands after coughing or sneezing into them to keep you and others healthy. Go to oakgov.com/health or call Nurse on Call at 1-800-848-5533 to learn more.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test. And now it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so, those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our Test Locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Great to have you with us here on this Wednesday morning. I'm Ronnie Dahl, alongside Tyler Keefe, here in the studios of CivicCenterTV.com and 89.3 Lakes FM. You could also tune in to Birmingham Area Municipal Access. Catch us on Channel 15, on Comcast, Channel 99 on AT&T, and then, of course, you can also catch us on 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. along with 89.3 Lakes FM if you're out driving around. The craft beer industry has exploded in the state of Michigan and across the country over the past few years. I would say probably the past decade or so, and Michigan is really the hub for that industry. It can be intimidating to go in and have to buy beer for someone now because the beer section is bigger than the wine section. And there are a lot of beer enthusiasts here in the state of Michigan, and one of those enthusiasts, Steve Johnson, he is the owner and operator of the Motor City Brew Tours. That's how popular craft beer has become, and the fact that you're able to have tours. Thank you for being with us, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
How did you even come up with the tours?
Like a lot of people, when I traveled, I'd like to go to local breweries, and it always gave me a good side trip to do when I would be traveling for work. And eventually I saw an unmet need in the market that folks wanted to do that in a safe way. And we started offering kind of bus tours to select breweries in the downtown and Metro Detroit area, starting in 2009.
So when you started this adventure, was it part-time, like on the side to see if it would take off, and then grew bigger and bigger as the years passed?
Exactly so. Yeah, I had a full-time job. I had a business partner. He had a full-time job. I was even kind of finishing up grad school at nights. And then on weekends, we started offering the occasional Saturday, buy some tickets, jump on a bus, go to 3 breweries for tours and tastings, get kind of the behind-the-scenes experience to kind of understand what that particular brewery was doing. And that little by little grew into more things. And as it became more things, I eventually left my corporate job and took this on as a full-time endeavor and decided to kind of grow it larger and do more than just bus tours as a result of that. So now we do walking tours, bicycle tours. We partner with the Detroit Princess Riverboat and do beer tasting boat cruises and other types of special events. And that has helped it become a full-time job.
Why has Michigan become such a hub for the craft beer industry?
Well, Michigan was really ahead of the game. Michigan had a really great kind of underground homebrew culture. And eventually those homebrewers got so great at their product where you had friends saying, you should sell this. And that started in really the mid to late 90s. You started to see kind of your first wave of those homebrewers open up what we would consider kind of traditional brew pubs, kind of the make beer and then they have a restaurant. And then eventually the whole industry kind of grew out of that. And as more home brewers decided to get into the business, you had other industries pop up, like schools to go to learn to brew. And now we have a lot of those different things in Michigan that's made the industry a lot larger. And you've seen that kind of cascade across the entire United States in the same way that it started in kind of the mid-90s in Michigan.
So is the interest still there in the middle of a pandemic? Or, I mean, has it freed up time for people to try to make some of these beers at home?
Yeah, that's a great way of saying it. Both, right? The breweries that are open have to adapt, and a lot of them have moved to really pushing to-go products. Some of them already had done that to a degree, and some this just made that happen a lot faster. And then folks that had that interest in home brewing, or maybe had walked away from it a little bit just because so much great product was available, I'm sure if you looked at stats, you'd see that people have started brewing at home again because they're stuck at home more. And the circle will kind of repeat itself as we kind of come out of the pandemic and back to a little more of normalcy and people start hanging out again and more regularity in breweries. I'm sure you'll see another wave of breweries that will open as a result of folks that were making it in their homes again.
So interesting. Steve Johnson with us. He is the owner and operator of the Motor City Brew Tours. So let's talk about your business for a little bit, though. Things at a standstill, how are things going?
Yeah, that's a great way of saying it. We're really just in a holding pattern. We stopped like a lot of businesses kind of first week-ish of March. And, we made the decision to not restart tours as some of the economy and some breweries have, reopened. Most places don't want groups coming in, and that's really what our business is. It's a group experience. So that being said, we've decided we're not going to start probably till next spring. And for tourism businesses, definitely in Michigan, your busy period really is kind of May through October. So we would really be slowing down this time of year. We'd still be running, scattered tours on a few weekends a month, but until you get back to the spring and people kind of wake up out of their winter slumber, right? They want to get out again. That's typically when tourism businesses would start up again. So most tourism businesses have kind of made the same decision we have, or if they are running, they're running very, very small groups, like we're saying 4 to 5 people, which isn't it's hard to really make money doing it that way. So you have to look at the economies of it. Luckily, I was in a position where I could kind of shut it down and come back again in the spring, hopefully, as things have eased up a bit.
Steve Johnson with us, owner and operator of Motor City Brew Tours, joining us this morning on the Oakland County Megacast. So with that being the case, in the meantime, is there anything that your company is doing to continue the traditions of Motor City Brew Tours, to continue to inform the customer base that you have built over these years of what they can do? Anything else that your company has done to pivot during this time that the tours are not going on or just not viable for safety reasons?
Yeah, one is to help spread the word about what local breweries in our area are doing, and that they're still open and you need to support them. And that's probably the biggest thing. And I do that a couple of ways. One, I do that through social media and the channels I have at my disposal with Motor City Brew Tours on Facebook and Instagram and through our website. But I also do it through a monthly podcast I run called the Beer Tour Guy podcast, which is available on all the podcast platforms. Just type in Beer Tour Guy, or you can get the link right on our website, which is motorcitybrewtours.com. And monthly, what I do is I interview folks in the Michigan craft beverage industry business. So people who typically make kind of craft beverages as beer, mead, hard cider, maybe some things on the edges of that, particularly alcoholic beverages. And I interview them, I get their story out of how great their business is and what they're doing in really the downtown and Metro Detroit areas. And that has been what I was doing this before kind of COVID, but I'm continuing to do it now. I'm just doing it in the same way we're doing this interview through Zoom and online types of capabilities where you can get someone's story remotely at a safe distance.
So, Steve, how many beers do you drink in a week? Because it is part of your job, right?
I'm surprised I don't get asked that way more often. I would say I'm probably pretty conservative now that I've been doing this business for a long time. I think anyone who's into a certain thing, you get into it at a peak, and then you try to learn what that right balance is, especially as maybe you get a little older. And I'm not my spry little 20-year-old self anymore. So I would say I'm pretty tame to most folks in what I would drink. If this was my doctor's office right now and I got asked that question, I definitely would say 4 to 5 drinks a week is what I do. Right?
So, but you're not like the wine tasters where they sip it and then they spit it into a bucket, right? You do actually drink it.
That's correct. Yeah, beer typically isn't done that way. Beer drinkers, we love beer, and we like to smell it and taste it and do a lot of things you would do at a wine tasting. You do it at beer tasting, but you drink it. You don't spit it out. If we're running an event or a tasting, we don't have pitchers sitting there for you to dump everything out. I'm not saying people don't do that at beer festivals when they have maybe an off beer, but that's not quite the norm as it might be with wine. That's an interesting question.
So we're hearing a lot lately about mead. What exactly is mead? And is this kind of the new and upcoming thing? Because cider seemed to hit the scene a few years ago and then grew in popularity. Is mead the next thing?
I wouldn't say mead's the next thing. I think mead's just another great thing. And, mead's been around for as long as we've had alcoholic beverages. It's really the oldest alcoholic beverage. And mead is fermented honey. So we're fortunate that we have some of the best makers of mead in the whole United States exist right here in the Metro Detroit area. So we've been really interested in mead for a long time, but mead typically falls into the wine category, but there's a lot of home brewers that have got into it and put kind of a cool craft beer spin on it, where they've put different ingredients in with the fermented honey, such as different juices like a cherry juice with a mead, or apple and honey, or lots of different variations. And I could blow your mind and go through a whole bunch of definitions, but the simplistic way of looking at it is saying fermented honey is mead, and any combination of that, where a fermented grain essentially is beer and fermented grapes is wine. So, but mead is taxed on the wine side, not on the beer side, if that makes sense. Same with hard cider, for that matter. Hard cider, which is fermented apples, that's taxed like a wine would be taxed, where beer is taxed differently and spirits are taxed differently. So you kind of take those buckets, it's like 3 different buckets of how it's looked at from a regulation standpoint. Hopefully that makes sense.
Steve Johnson with us, owner and operator of Motor City Brew Tours, joining us today on the Oakland County Megacast. Steve, a lot of what, and I hate to continue the comparison to wine tasting and to wine organizations, a lot of that has to do with education of their customers. What goes well with this? What am I looking, if I like these sorts of flavors, or I like this kind of a taste or this kind of a texture, that this is what's right for me, or this is what's right in this kind of a situation for this kind of event, or for this pairing with a certain food, or whatever the case may be. How much of what you're doing right now at Motor City Brew Tours is about education with all these different kinds of home breweries and craft beers that are being made? There's so much nuance to them. How much of an effort are you making, and is Motor City Brew Tours making, in terms of educating the public and educating their customers on these beers and what they're best used for?
Education's a great question. I would say when we first started in 2009, the industry was at a much younger stage, and education, I would have said, was like 90%, and then 10% was social. And when you're running a tour, now I would say it's more 50-50, where today you have people that have grown up with having an abundance of great beer and other alcoholic beverage choices around them, and they already come to you more educated than they used to be. So, and some of that I used to say was a little bit of a generational thing, but even that, now when we started in 2009, if you went into your average, say, party liquor store or grocery store or bar, you really saw mostly domestic, a few imports, and then maybe 1 or 2 local beers. Now, when you go into any of those types of places, there's a million options, right? And a lot of that has to do with now people have grown used to seeing all those options. And a lot of my education revolves around what's the latest things that have come out, where people already know certain aspects of beer, or certain aspects of wine, or certain aspects of mead, or certain aspects of hard cider. They're more interested in what's the new places that have opened up. What are they doing that's different? And a lot of my education revolves around understanding that, understanding all those changes that are happening, and then understanding the customer, what do they normally drink? So if they say, I typically like lighter beers, or I typically like malty beers, or I like fruity stuff, or I like hoppy stuff. And then within that, when you're taking them into a brewery that makes that, you say, okay, well, they make a great hoppy beer, and here's a couple other choices, try one of these. Or they make a great fruity beer, here's a couple other choices, try these. Or if you're gonna travel somewhere else in Michigan, I get asked questions like that a lot too, tourism-related questions of maybe not in the downtown or Metro Detroit area, but they're going to another part of Michigan. Have you ever been to this brewery or that brewery, or this place that makes cider, or this place that makes mead? And there's sharing that goes on in a tour that makes the social aspect of it a lot of fun for tour guests. So education's part of it, but we try not to make it as a snobby thing, more of them understanding where they're coming from, how knowledgeable they may be, and then adding to that, as opposed to standing there and giving like a 20-minute presentation on, the history of hops or something like that, that I feel like most people don't really want that. So we try to make it a little more casual than that, if that makes sense to you.
How much of the local and the smaller craft beer maker are they being impacted by the larger companies now? Because it seems like they're starting to jump on this trend of the craft beer because it's turned out to be popular.
That's a great question. The last 10 years, you've had lots of consolidation in the industry. So you've had regional craft beer makers get purchased by large domestic companies. So the Anheuser-Busch InBevs of the world and the Molson Coors, Miller Coors in the US, they've basically regionally bought the larger craft brewers. And you as a consumer may or may not know that when you go to the store, because there's not a big sign on it that says Miller just bought this company. It may still seem like it's this great regional brewer. And that was inevitable as the industry got larger, that those things were going to happen. So it takes more education, I think, on the consumer now to understand that that's what's happening. I guess the good thing as a consumer is you really have great beer being available in all the outlets that you may go to purchase that. And you as a consumer can decide how local you want that purchase to be. So I try to advocate to people to say, here's the great Michigan alternative to that national brand that you're seeing out there. That national brand that may look like it's a craft beer, but it's really owned by a much larger company. Here's the Michigan version, the smaller version. So the local brewers are definitely being impacted by that from a price standpoint. So, and definitely as we've gone through COVID, what you've seen is people aren't having those pints in the establishment. And if that establishment didn't have a great program to offer to-go beer at a price that's within range of what the consumer wants, then they're suffering as a result of that, because most people are now buying their beverages from their local grocery store, their local party store. And those price points can be very different, because if you're a larger producer, you can bring that price down at a retail level that a small local producer could never really do. So it's a time for you to understand that as a consumer and know that you should really be out there. If you love your local brewery, you should be there supporting them in this time, because they're getting less traffic in the tap room where they really would make the most money.
Steve Johnson with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. He is the owner and operator of Motor City Brew Tours, and he also does the monthly podcast Beer Tour Guy, which helps out the industry, educates everyone on the industry, and talks about the new and upcoming things in the industry. And with that being said, give us some of your inside secrets right now. Where are the top 3 Metro Detroit breweries that someone should go visit if they've never been to one?
I always say it depends on where you want to go in the city. So let's say we're in downtown Detroit. You could go to 3 great breweries right in Midtown. You could go to a couple breweries right in the downtown core. You can go to a couple breweries right in Corktown. So like if you were in Corktown, you got 2 great breweries there. Batch Brewing, which is a smaller player, and then Brew Detroit, which is a block away, and they're a contract brewer with a great tap room. If you're right in the downtown core, you could go to a brewery that's been there for over 10 years now, Detroit Beer Co. right by the stadium. Let's say you're going to a game, you should go there beforehand and have a beer. If you're over by Eastern Market, you have Eastern Market Brewing Company, which is a great local player that's about only 3 years old now, and it's making good product. They have a gorgeous looking tap room. If you came on one of our tours, for example, we might take you on a walking tour in Midtown, where you would go to the First Brew Pub in Michigan, which is Traffic Jam and Snug. That's a restaurant, brewery, bakery, dairy hybrid, and we would show you all that. A couple doors down from them is Jolly Pumpkin. They make amazing sour beers. And across the street from that is Motor City Brewing Works, which is one of the first breweries to open in the city once we opened up the brew pub laws in the 1990s. And those are all right by each other. So you could get a couple in Corktown, a couple in downtown Eastern Market, and 3 right there. If you went into the suburbs, the choices are in the dozens. If you're in the Royal Oak, Ferndale area, there's a half a dozen great breweries right in those areas. You could also get a couple meaderies in Ferndale with Bee Nectar and Tram's Meadery. If you go a little farther out in the burbs, you have lots of great hard cider opportunities if you even drove all the way out to Armada and went to Blake's or Westview Orchards and Winery, which is in Romeo. So it depends on how far you want to travel to where we would say that. And that's not, I'm not even going up along I-96 and all the other options along there, which are almost endless all the way to Lansing now. So we're really in a great time of options in our area here, where you could really kind of throw a stick in any direction and have lots of great things to do. And that's what we try to do at Motor City Brew Tours is help you visit, experience those places in all those different directions, in all those different forms of transportation, whether it's bus, bike, walk, even boat, and experience and sample things from those great establishments.
This has been such an education for me, so I appreciate your time. I will say, the beer festivals are so popular. Eastern Market, when they have those each year, you have to get your ticket early because it sells out so quickly. Gone to the one in Grand Rapids. I will say I was surprised when people were wearing the necklaces with like beef jerky and cheese and crackers. I didn't understand the meaning of that at first. It looked a little strange to me.
Well, it's the idea to put it front and center in you to make sure you eat something while you're drinking. And what we all have done at some point, the first time you ever go to any large tasting event like a beer festival or a wine festival, is you're so excited by all the variety and seeing all the people that you sample, and you forget to eat something. And that's really where their tradition of having a pretzel necklace and adding all these great things like beef jerky and cheese and all these crazy things you see people put on these necklaces. It's sort of like, oh man, I need to eat something. I need to put something in my belly. That's why we have snacks on our bus, for example, like pretzels, for that same reason, because people will have a lot of fun and you need to put something in your stomach to balance it all out. And that's kind of part of that beer festival experience, which at times we run buses to beer festivals, including that one in Grand Rapids and the one in Ypsi and the one in Eastern Market. And we sure look forward to having great events happen like that again. That has definitely been a shame that we haven't been able to get together really this year to do that. It's definitely the thing I probably look forward to the most when we're able to have larger group gatherings for big tasting events again.
Well, we so appreciate your time, and we hope that you and the tours do resume sooner rather than later, because, nothing replaces the experience of being together in a group. Because when you do these bus tours or even a walking tour, by the end of the tour, you become friends with everyone in that group. So it's a great time, and such a great service that you offer as well. So we wish you guys the best of luck, and we hope that you're going to be able to continue the tours sooner rather than later.
Well, thanks a lot for having me on. I appreciate it, and getting to share some of my thoughts on the industry with you.
Steve Johnson, he's the owner and operator of the Motor City Brew Tours. You can also check out his monthly podcast, Beer Tour Guy. So if you're into the industry or just want to learn more about craft beer and all that it does for the state of Michigan, check out his podcast. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. Up next on deck, we're talking Christmas. We're all over the place today, Tyler. Christmas on the Oakland County Megacast.
Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards, back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart. Keep wearing a mask in public. And if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus. Michigan, We're calling on you to save lives. Don't ignore it. Don't let it go to voicemail. It's urgent. In fact, it's critical. Because if you've been in close contact with someone who tests positive for COVID-19, you may have been exposed to the virus. And you could get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department. So please answer the call to learn how to protect yourself, your family, and friends. We're calling on you to stop the spread of COVID-19, to make it safe to reopen businesses and help Michigan move forward. So if you get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department, you may have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. To protect us all, answer the call. Learn more at michigan.gov/containcovid. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Thank you for taking time out of your Wednesday to tune into the Oakland County Megacast. This is 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills, and also a huge thank you to the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce. They are Facebook streaming our today's edition of the Oakland County Megacast on their Facebook page. So we want to say thank you to them. You can catch us on Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff, Channel 15 on Comcast, Channel 99 on AT&T. We are everywhere. The Oakland County Megacast here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, with interviews of interesting people and decision makers throughout the state of Michigan as we all continue to navigate COVID-19. And when we started this, it was back in March. Thought it was just going to be for a few weeks, but here we are, nearly 7 months into the pandemic. The calendar, the days are clicking away. Believe it or not, Christmas is just 72 days away, and nothing says Christmas quite like Bronner's Christmas Wonderland. I think if you live in the state of Michigan, you have been by this store. We're excited to have Wayne Bronner with us on the Oakland County Megacast this morning. He is the president and CEO. Thank you for being with us. How is everything going in the Christmas Wonderland?
No, it's almost like it's 72 days before Christmas. We're very busy.
Do you have seasons, or is it just busy year-round?
It's quiet in January, February, March, but then it's very busy the rest of the year.
I'm surprised your backdrop looks like you're in like a grassy field. I thought we'd be seeing old man Saint Nick or something behind you.
Yeah, we can arrange to have that showing on you.
No, but we do love your jacket and your ties. So tell us, is the store completely reopened right now?
It's open completely, yes. We've been open since June 11th, and we have lots of visitors. So it's better to come during the week and avoid the crowds on the weekends.
This has been a family business. It is a staple in the state of Michigan. I believe you were founded all the way back in the 40s. So trying to survive a pandemic, what has this been like for your company?
Now, this is our 75th year, so the visitors to Bronner's are very well protected. We have plexiglass extensively throughout the store, lots of social distancing signs, many opportunities to wash your hands, and hand sanitizer stations throughout, so it's very well protected.
I would imagine, as well as so many people were excited to get out of their homes this year, they've stayed closer to home in the state of Michigan, taking tours. Have you seen an increase of business as the state has been allowed to reopen?
It's been very busy. People cooped up, they want to get out. So Frankenmuth is perceived as a safe place. It is a safe place, and we've had a lot of visitors.
Wayne Bronner with us. He is the president and CEO of Bronner's Christmas Wonderland, joining us today on the Oakland County Megacast. And Wayne, what can people expect now when they're coming in to Bronner's? You had mentioned that there are some social distancing measures in place. There's lots of opportunity for people to sanitize their hands and wash their hands. Has the overall experience at all been impacted by that, positively, negatively, whatever the case may be? And will there be, I know it's a very large facility, some capacity limits that are going to be put in place as people do shop at Bronner's during the holiday season?
Yes, we're very well protected here from visitors, and we encourage everybody to wear a mask. It's required, and we've had excellent compliance, so we're proud to say that. And like I mentioned earlier, we have plexiglass throughout the store and many social distancing signs and a lot of opportunities to wash your hands. And if you can't wash your hands, there's hand sanitizer stations available.
When you walk into Bronner's Christmas Wonderland, it can be a little overwhelming with the choices. You can't just purchase one thing, but it's also become a family tradition for people to be able to get a yearly ornament from your shop as a reminder of their family tradition. How has the supply chain been for you and your store throughout the pandemic?
The supply chain's been very good, actually. A lot of vendors willing to sell their merchandise, and we have over 50,000 different items to choose from. So understandably, it's confusing, but we're the world's largest Christmas store.
And with that, how do you pick and choose what to put in your store, or is it just everything?
It's interesting. Out of the 50,000 items that we offer for sale, probably 1/3 are new each year. Our buyers do an excellent job. They're searching the worldwide markets, and they buy 1/3 new every year, and we replace them.
So for those that don't know the history of Bronner's Christmas World, can you give us a little history lesson here?
Yes, I'd be happy to. The Bronners came over from Germany, and they were masons. They were builders, actually. And my father did that as a teenager, did that long enough to know that it was not what he wanted to do. He wanted to be an artist instead. So he was a window trimmer and a sign painter. And one day he was painting some signs, actually trimming the window at Jennison Hardware Store in Bay City, Michigan. And some merchants from Clare, Michigan came by, and they inquired of the hardware store owner if he had any Christmas decorations for sale. And the hardware store owner, Mr. Jennison, said, "We don't have anything like that. Well, why don't you talk to that young window trimmer out there?" That was my father, Wally, at a young age, and that was the start of the Christmas business. He painted some sign panels that Clare, Michigan hung from their lampposts, and they were so admired by so many people that they inquired of the people in Clare, "Where did you get those?" "Well, we got those from a young sign painter named Wally Bronner down in Frankenmuth, Michigan," and that was the start of the Frankenmuth of the Christmas business.
That's such a beautiful story, an amazing story, but also an inspiring story for so many people that I think this newer generation wants to jump in and have instant success, but it starts small and then it grows from there. So can you tell us about the growth and how big you are right now?
Yeah, my father started out in my grandfather's basement, so that gives you an idea of the small size. And now we're at 320,000 square feet.
Oh my goodness.
So,
What was it like to grow up in this world?
I'm sorry?
What was it like for you to grow up in that world? Are you Mr. Christmas? Was Christmas
Mr.
all
Christmas.
day?
We used to play hide and go seek as children, and my father developed a life-size set of nativity figures, and an excellent place to hide was behind the ox in the nativity set.
It had to have been fun, but I also wonder, I've worked retail in the past, and sometimes working crazy hours around the holiday season can take away from a little bit of the joy. Is that the case for you, or do you still get excited?
No, it's very exciting. And there's nothing negative about Christmas. It's all positive. So Christmas is a celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ, and it's celebrating with your family and friends. So it's all positive. People can come in the middle of July, for example, and it's 90 degrees out and the humidity to match. And that before long, they were humming along with the Christmas carols and filling their baskets with Christmas goodies.
Christmas is every day, every day. It doesn't have to just be in the month of December. What do you want people to know about what to take away from when they visit your store if they're coming in for the first time?
Well, the people that come the first time, they're just amazed at what they see. There's a tremendous outlay of merchandise, Christmas merchandise. As I mentioned earlier, we have 50,000 gifts and trims to choose from, so it's kind of overwhelming at first. So people are immersed in Christmas experience, and before you know it, they're filling their baskets with Christmas items.
Wayne Bronner with us on the Oakland County Megacast, joining us today. He is the president and CEO of Bronner's Christmas Wonderland. So Wayne, what are some of the new additions that are coming in this year that are interesting to the store's collection of potential items for sale that people should be looking out for as they're going into Bronner's Christmas Wonderland this season?
One of our best-selling items is, categories I should say, is personalized ornaments. And we have personalized ornaments. There's, if you're into volleyball, if you're into laptops, if you're into phones and so forth, like so many people are, there's a tremendous amount of items to choose from. And we have needs, or we have items that satisfy the needs for all kinds of hobbies, all kinds of interests, all kinds of occupations, and they have them personalized. So for $15 or less, you can have an ideal item and it's got somebody's name on there, perfect for Christmas.
Unique gifts are always the best gifts. How's it been for your store and you to be able to get employees during this time? A lot of businesses are suffering in that area. Are you able to get enough employees to keep the store running?
Yeah, the funny thing is it's almost like a club. We have a lot of full-time people, and then we have many part-time people. They come back year after year after year. The average seniority amongst our supervisors and managers is 25 years. So they've been with us for a long time, and they enjoy working with us.
So Bronner's is a family event, even if it's not by blood then, right?
We're a family business, and we're open 361 days a year. We're kind of lazy. We take off 4 days per year.
What days are you actually closed?
We're actually closed on Thanksgiving, and on Christmas Day, and on New Year's Day, and also on Easter.
So I've been up there around the holidays, and you can definitely spot your store quite a distance away because of all the lights. I'm challenged just hanging maybe 10 strands of lights outside of my home each and every day. Who has that job in your store, and what's it like to keep those displays lit?
Now, there's several different people. They do an excellent job. We have 100,000 lights outside and many more inside. So they're constantly changing bulbs.
But I would imagine the whole strand doesn't go out if one bulb goes out, right?
Correct. Yeah, we have well-designed strands.
So for anyone who wants to come up, do you want to give the location? Although I'm quite certain most people know exactly where you are, but for those that haven't been there before, do you want to give the location? And also, if people aren't comfortable coming to the store right now because of the pandemic, can they order online and get delivery, or do you do curbside right now?
Yes, we have the curbside delivery, and actually we have internet sites also. So you can find us on the internet at www.bronners.com. We print and mail about 3 million catalogs across the United States each year. And we're located in Frankenmuth, Michigan, where the first thing you see when you come into town on the south side, you can't miss us.
You definitely can't miss you. Anything we didn't ask that you want to add before we let you go?
That's very thorough. You did a great job.
Well, it's been great having you on, and I will say anyone who has not been there, just like the pottery, Pewabic Pottery, the Bronner's Christmas Wonderland is also very much a part of Michigan's history and a part of our community. We want to say thank you to you and your staff, and we wish you the best of luck as you continue to reopen and get back to business during this crazy time.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to all of you and all of your listeners.
Thank you so much, and the same to you. Tyler and I are going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast.
Hi, my name is Kurt Lawson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for West Bloomfield Township. We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Park's COVID-19 help hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
This may seem uncomfortable, but so is being hooked to an IV, sleeping in a hospital bed, and fighting for your life. When it comes to COVID-19, comfort is not as important as saving lives. Wearing a mask can greatly reduce the chance of spreading the virus. So mask up, Michigan, every time you leave home.
Days until Christmas, Tyler.
72 days. Oh, yeah.
I think it's only 20 days until the election.
I was going to say, you think Santa's going to get reelected to ride in the sleigh this year?
I don't know.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of those attack ads, you know.
Have you been taking advantage of the Amazon Prime?
I have not yet, no. Not at this moment. Probably should get on that pretty soon.
I was looking yesterday, didn't buy anything just yet. But sometimes it's overwhelming with so many things that they're offering.
It is. There's such variety there. Much like at our good friends over at Bronner's Christmas Wonderland.
It is. It's overwhelming.
Oh, it is. It's
when
it's
you
crazy
walk in there.
It's crazy. You're walking straight in to the North Pole. You're just it's way too much jolliness for one moment in time for me, Ron. I need some negativity to counteract that in that moment.
What?
I just need something, some competition there. Keep me fresh. Keep me on my toes.
I enjoy going, but I will say, when you do go, it's almost like you have to have a plan when you go in. I mean, unless you're going all day. That's too much Christmas for me. But usually it's you go, you find one ornament that means something, and then you leave. So I guess in that regard, it might be easier to do the online shopping.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, maybe it makes it a little easier. But then again, you also can get stuck down the rabbit hole there, too, where you get all those suggestions also, and all of a sudden now you're looking at, you're looking at, maybe looking at Christmas ornaments with Rudolph on. All of a sudden, you're looking for additional ornaments that have saddles for it. I don't know.
Oh my gosh!
I assume that happens to people. I don't know. I'll have to ask around.
Well, so as we were talking a little bit earlier in the show, COVID-19 cases are on the rise here in the state of Michigan. There is concern that this could be the beginning of a second wave. So I kind of want to get Dr. Jamie Taweel's 2 cents on this topic. He's an internal medicine specialist with the Grand River Medical Associates and kind of our doctor resident here on the Oakland County Megacast. Dr. Taweel, thanks for being with us.
Oh, thank you for having me, as always. How you guys been?
We're good. We're good. Just getting a little stressed, realizing Christmas is around the corner. 72 days.
Oh, yeah.
It comes on quick, and it's like, oh my gosh.
I have all this shopping I didn't even realize I had to do. Oh my god.
Oh no.
Amazon Prime. Jump on it. Hey, so Doc, I'm sure you've heard about the concerns about the second wave possibly hitting the state of Michigan. What do you think? Are we in for a long haul here?
I think we are. Well, I don't think we're in for a really long haul. I think hopefully we'll have a vaccine coming soon, and that can help us get a little bit better situated. I think we are due for another bump. I mean, the weather's getting colder. People aren't doing a lot of outside social distancing. They'll start to coalesce and get indoors. And when that happens, they're going to be exposing each other if they're not going to be able to social distance. Restaurants are open again. People are starting to get back in there. There's, still some, the gyms are open. There's just a lot of people are going to start mingling a little bit more. And as the holidays hit, people are going to do a lot more family things. And I'm expecting a bump to occur. And I think it's going to with the improved the more lax guidelines that we're all following, which, we're still doing social distancing. And I don't want to keep rambling about all of that, but I am concerned it's going to bump a little bit.
It's not surprising to me. You would almost anticipate that this is going to happen. And even more so, more and more people are being tested as well. So there are probably how many people walking around who had COVID that were asymptomatic that you didn't know about. So now with contact tracing, more people are being tested, so you're going to get more positive results.
Absolutely. You're going to get some more positive results as a result of increased testing. And then you're going to get more positive results because people are out now doing more. Schools are starting to open up again. It's just, all around, we were going to expect a bump to occur. The hope is that it's not overwhelming. And hopefully it won't be. I think we're going to I think Michigan still does really well, all things considered.
The hope is a vaccine will be here sooner rather than later. However, the news coming out the last couple of days, some of the trials have been put on hold because of an illness, unexplained illness in one of the test patients. However, they're saying that's not unusual for some of these trials. It's just now because it's COVID and so much attention is put on COVID, we're understanding the process of what it takes to actually get a vaccine to market.
Yeah. These are the things. This is the reason why it takes so long. They're always, you want to find these things in the trial period. You want to make sure that these things are going to be addressed and handled and avoided in the future. I don't know the exact details with regards to the illness that people were getting. I don't know if it was a result of the vaccine or if it was a unexpected illness that occurred. It did happen in 2 of the trials. I know from what I understand, 2 other trials are still ongoing, and they're entering different phases. So this is promising, but it's going to take a little bit of time, and that's, and for all intents and purposes, it should. You never want to rush a vaccine that's going to be dangerous. We're already in a scenario where people are having a lot of skepticism with regards to things, and I think introducing more of that would be a bad idea. So I think the slow precautionary approaches that we're taking are appropriate. I hope they can move faster, but at the same time, you never want to sacrifice quality for speed.
So I saw a study too. They were talking about kids and obesity right now and during the pandemic, because kids are not getting up and getting outside and moving around as much as they used to. But it's still, it's not like when we were kids and your parents were like, go outside and play, don't come back until it's dark outside. Now more and more kids are not only doing remote learning where they're sitting in front of a computer all day, but they're also on their devices playing computer games instead of out playing kickball. And there's a concern now about childhood obesity. What are you seeing in some of your patients?
Well, I'm not a pediatrician, so I don't have a lot of children that I can bounce off the childhood obesity. I will, however, say, with regards to a good majority of patients that I deal with, we've all gained the COVID-15, myself included. I'm guilty of that as well. People have been gaining weight throughout this period of time. One thing I often remind my patients, though, is, yes, I understand that things are limited in terms of activity, and I've been hearing that nonstop. Due to the quarantine, I've basically been indoors. I haven't moved around as much. I haven't been able to work out, and as a result, I've gained a lot of weight. My usual response is that the good majority of the weight you lose is going to be in the kitchen rather than the gym. Nothing's going to be better than an adequate, appropriate diet. That's going to be, you're going to lose a lot of weight with how you eat rather than what you do. Now, don't take that as me downplaying the importance of physical activity. Sedentary lifestyle has been linked to multiple diseases, heart attacks, things to that effect. So activity is crucial. But in terms of obesity, nutrition is going to be a equal, if not bigger, part of that whole cycle. And if you can get your diet right, I think a lot of that can be avoided.
Yeah, but people are home now. They're home so much more, whereas before maybe you were in the office, you didn't have access to the refrigerator 24/7, so it's easy to get up, go grab a cookie, maybe a cracker or a piece of cheese, and you forget how much all of that adds up in a day.
Absolutely. I'm kind of noticing a trend here when it comes to patients. I have 2 types of patients: those that are taking advantage of this quarantine and saying, we're now cooking our own meals, we're being very conscious of what we're eating, things to that effect. And then there's the other ones that are like, yeah, I'm home and I'm I work 12 feet away from a refrigerator, and people are drinking their calories, they're doing a lot. It's tough, and I want ideal situation would be for my patients to find a balance where, yes, you are conscious of what you're eating and you're able to make your own meals and do a little bit more prep work and be more aware of what you're putting into your body. But at the same time, I want you to be able to live your life and do some of the things that you want to be able to do. I always felt that, a fad diet in and of itself, or anyone that's just really, really strict on their diet, usually sets themselves up for a letdown, because that's not a lifestyle. I want people to be very, I want them to have an appropriate lifestyle that's going to be beneficial and at the same time allow them to live a little bit.
My sister keeps harping on us, take your vitamin D, take your vitamins, do this, do that, because part of COVID is it's attacking people with underlying conditions. And so the healthier you are, the less chance you're going to get COVID, or at least it's not going to be so serious if you do get it. So are some of the patients aware of that? Are they changing their lifestyles because of it?
I think at first I saw a little bit more of that. I think a lot of people more or less were just concerned that they were considered a high-risk patient because they had, people were really concerned that they were high risk because they had comorbidities. However, I haven't seen a lot of people that were like, all right, I need to really get aggressive on my blood pressure because I want to make sure that I'm not, I'm managing that as best as possible. Patients are motivated to do well. I've never had more people motivated to get flu vaccines and things like that than they are now, thankfully. But at the same time, I don't really, I haven't really seen a lot of people that were like, all right, I really need to get my sugars under control more than they already have been, because they're concerned that the diabetes would, I think more or less they took it as I'm high risk, and they kind of just accepted it as that. And I think it's up to us to make sure that we are aware that the better you control those things, the better your risks are. You want to go into any fight that you're going to have with the most, the best advantage you could possibly muster up. So of course, if you do have issues with blood pressure, obesity, vitamin deficiencies, diabetes, you want to control that as best as possible so that you have the best outcomes should you be unfortunately hit with this disease.
Dr. Jamie Taweel with us, internal medicine specialist at Grand River Medical Associates, with us today on the Megacast. Dr. Taweel, you touched just briefly on getting your flu shot and on the flu season. With what we're seeing with COVID-19 right now, where it is spiking in some places throughout the country, including the beginnings of what looks like a spike here in the state of Michigan as well, with the restrictions being lifted by the Supreme Court and new regulations slowly but surely coming into place. How much more important now than ever before is it for people to be safe in regards to the flu and to get their flu shot?
So I am a physician. Every patient sits down and looks me in the eye and goes, all right, between you and me, should I get a flu shot this year? And my answer is always the same. Like, I'm a doctor. It's my job. I'm always going to recommend a flu shot. I'm always going to recommend a flu vaccine. That's what I believe in. A flu vaccine will reduce your risk of flu. Will it make it zero? Absolutely not. But at the same time, it will improve your risk of contracting the flu. And if you do contract it, hopefully will reduce your risk of having it be dangerous. I do think that the social distancing, the masks, will actually lower flu rates this year. And I hope that they can correlate that as opposed to people that just did flu vaccines and see exactly what the benefit was. I'm looking forward to seeing that data come next year. I do recommend the flu vaccine because I think that the one thing you do not want is to catch the flu and COVID. I think if you get both of those, that's a 1-2 punch that's not going to be very well tolerated in a huge population of the country. So I again, like I said earlier, any battle you go into, you want the biggest advantage possible, and even unwilling battles such as infections. So I think it's going to be a great idea, and I'm always going to recommend it.
So fall time seasons are changing, and with that, allergies. Excuse me. So I have the pleasure of having fall allergies, and I was out over the weekend trying to take advantage of this beautiful weather before it goes away. And then, of course, your head fills up, you're congested, your nose is running, and everyone is looking at you like you have cooties. And you want to say, no, it's not COVID cooties. It really is just allergies. And, of course, I took an Allegra, and it clears up for a little bit. Then you go back outside, and it's a cycle again.
Oh, yeah.
How do you know the difference between the two?
I think most importantly, you're going to deal with COVID if you're People that have allergies know their allergies. People that call me up and say, look, this is my allergies. Can you please just give me my medicine? They know what's going to work and they know what they're feeling. People always know when it's their allergies. I have people that come in and they cough and they go, no, it's just my allergies, I swear. And I believe them.
See, I'm not the only one. Everyone looks at you. I'm like, no, I don't have COVID cooties.
Plus, like you said, you take an Allegra, it does get better. COVID's not going to do that. And also, the big thing is if you're going to have a fever, anything that you're experiencing that isn't typical for allergies. Now, let's bear in mind, poorly controlled allergies do lead to sinus infections and certain types of illnesses that can occur. Excuse me. But you usually, again, that. And certain things like a sinus infection, it's all going to be in the sinuses. You're going to feel that. You're going to know what it feels like. It's in one spot. It's not a head to toe thing. COVID is a little bit more like you kind of felt like you got hit by a bus, sore throat, difficulty breathing, sometimes stomach upset, fevers. If you get a spike in fever, that's always going to be something you need to be concerned about that may be COVID related. So whenever you start hitting fevers, double check and make sure, call your doctor and make sure that they're aware of what's going on and they can direct you they can direct you into the right place to see what needs to be done next.
Is there anything people could be doing to try to boost their immune system going into the winter months?
Yeah, a well-balanced diet, make sure that they're addressing all of the, issues with regards to their health. If you're a diabetic, getting your sugars under really good control will definitely improve your immune system. Things to that effect, just doing the best that you can on your end. Medicine is a two-way street. I can write medications all day, but unless you take them, pay mindful attention to your diet, mindful attention to your activity levels, mindful attention to who you are interacting with and whether or not you're putting yourself in, precarious situations, i.e., giant gatherings of people without a mask. It is Halloween. People are going to the cider mill and things like that, and they're gathering. So just make sure that you're doing a lot of things to protect yourself as best as possible. That's the only thing I can ask for in my patients.
Vitamin C, does that work? Zinc, vitamin C, should you be taking extra supplements right now?
They do work to a degree. I don't think that they're going to be the end-all be-all magic bullet. Taking extra supplements is never going to be a humongous issue as long as you're not taking massive doses. Vitamin C is an excellent supplement. Definitely recommend that they take it. I think whatever you would take in a daily multivitamin will have adequate amounts of everything that you need, and that's pretty much all you should need. Nothing beats a well-balanced diet more than anything else, truth be told, but definitely adding some supplements are always going to be recommended and certainly will not do harm.
Dr. Jamie Taweel with us on the Oakland County Megacast, joining us today, talking about the latest in medical information about COVID-19 and, of course, the flu season, both heavily in the news at this moment in time. Dr. Taweel, in the recent weeks, with the president being hospitalized and with upticks in COVID-19, we've heard a lot about a variety of different medicines, including the antiviral cocktail that the president was given at Walter Reed Medical Center and remdesivir, who have both come back into play, into the news once again. Can you talk a little bit about some of these different treatment aspects that are being put into place, what you maybe know about them and why they're being used, and if they would be widely effective, or is it more of a patient-to-patient basis?
Okay, that's a lot to unpack here. I'm actually amazed, for all the touting of hydroxychloroquine, how come that wasn't included into his cocktail? But that's because the FDA decided and deemed it to not be effective, so he did not receive it. So the things that he received the remdesivir, which is an antiviral, which early studies had shown that it had been beneficial. He had also received high doses of dexamethasone, which is a steroid, also shown to be beneficial to patients that were in severe cases. He had also received the monoclonal antibody Regeneron, I believe it was called, which is a experimental drug that was deemed to have compassionate use. So it kind of bypassed a lot of FDA studies. So with regards to the Regeneron, I mean, literally I have a case of one, and he was also receiving multiple treatments at the same time. It is extremely hard to say whether or not that monoclonal antibody was the magic bullet that made him so much better. We also don't have a clear idea of how ill he was. Those medications that he received are typically reserved for patients that are very ill. I get a lot of outpatient cases of COVID that come through, or at least interact with through my office, and I'm not writing for dexamethasone. I'm not writing for, remdesivir, because those are reserved for patients that are, essentially severely lung compromised on a ventilator. So he kind of got a massive dose of multiple medications that were for really sick people. From what I gathered of what I've been told, that he wasn't as ill as we had thought. I mean, he required supplemental oxygen on 2 random occasions. From what the official statements were, it seemed like it was a little bit of overkill, if anything else. But at the same time, he improved, and it's hard to tell which of those things improved him, or whether or not they were just being precautionary because he's the most powerful man in the United States, so they wanted to just make sure and threw the kitchen sink at him, and maybe he didn't even need any of it. It's hard to tell. So, the medications that he did receive did work. Again, I can't speak on Regeneron because there's no clinical trials that, to my knowledge, that were suggested that it's going to be of benefit. Of course, monoclonal antibodies in theory work very well, but he also, again, received steroids and remdesivir, which have been shown to already improve outcomes. So it's kind of hard to have a head-to-head on something like that.
And once something like that makes the headlines, do you start getting a lot of calls and have to have these conversations with patients because they're saying, well, it worked for the president, so it's got to work for me, and is it available for me?
So I have not received anything suspicious. No one's called me and asked for, remdesivir, because patients that are ill to that degree are getting it based on guidelines, that are getting it in the hospital. The cases that I interact with, fortunately, are the outpatient. I feel a little bit miserable. I deal with primarily mild cases. I'm not seeing those that are on a ventilator, those that are really grossly ill. Thankfully, I have had a lot of patients ask me for, azithromycin, when at first there was a rumor going around that azithromycin was going to reduce your risks of, COVID severity. I also was getting a lot of calls with regards to hydroxychloroquine, which has blown over. I have not really gotten a lot of calls based on, remdesivir, dexamethasone, or Regeneron. So thankfully. But I would explain to my patients that those are for severe cases, and if you're calling me asking me for them, then typically you're not going to require it.
Right, because you wouldn't be able to ask for it if you were that severe. And for
those
the mild case,
made for you rather than you're asking for it, if that makes any sense.
Yes, yeah. And for the cases that are still the mild cases, is it still what was being recommended in the beginning? Basically, stay home, isolate, and get a lot of fluids.
Pretty much. Symptom management. So if you're having significant nausea, we'll treat that. If you're having difficulty in breathing, we'll treat that. But we're dealing with symptoms, not the problem. We're waiting for the problem itself to just go away. Your body is inflammatory, and we're trying to blunt that as best as possible, while at the same time allowing it to address the issue. But for the most part, a lot of it is just stay home, hydrate, don't get anybody else sick. If things get worse, then go to the hospital, where then those decisions might need to be made for you.
Dr. Jamie Taweel with us, internal medicine specialist at Grand River Medical Associates, with us on the Megacast. Dr. Taweel, just another couple of minutes before we got to let you go. Anything else that's important for our audience to know at this time, or that they should be aware of regarding COVID-19 or other medical information?
I think the public has been pretty well versed in a lot of this, and I'm very glad to see that they're doing the right thing a lot of times. Things have been laxed. I'm still seeing a ton of masks out there. Everybody's wearing them, thank the Lord. I think Michigan has never failed to impress me with their willingness to do a lot of important things. So I encourage them to continue it. I do caution, though, flu season's coming. Get your flu shots. Make sure you're getting all of your health under the best possible control. Make sure your diet is very appropriate. And just be cautious as things start. We're going to come into Halloween. We're coming into Thanksgiving. People are going to start gathering, and they're going to start getting indoors. Please do your best to just try your hardest to maintain some social distancing, wear the masks, and just be cognizant of the fact that that random stranger next to you could have something that could make your life not well. So just don't be paranoid by any means, but at the same time, be cautious. And that's what I would ask of anybody that's out there in the world.
Doc, always great having you on the show. We appreciate your time. Stay safe, stay healthy, and Halloween's around the corner. If you're going to celebrate, I hope you, if you have kids, have a good time. Safe Halloween.
But I will celebrate because I love Halloween.
It's my favorite holiday, too. I've already put up all my decorations.
Always been my favorite holiday.
Well, thank you so much. I'm sorry?
I said, you guys be well. Thank you so much.
We will. Hey, are you going to dress up for Halloween?
Not this year. I don't think so. I usually try something, but this year Halloween's on a weekend, so I don't really have an outfit to wear to work. So.
Yeah, that's true. You can wear it through your house. That's
Let's
okay.
go for a walk in it.
Dr. Taweel with us on the Oakland County Megacast. Always great having you on. We appreciate the information and we appreciate your time. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast, and when we come back, we'll round out the show talking with the communications officer for the Detroit Historical Society. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
As rivals, we don't always see eye to eye.
Like who scored the best recruits? Who's gonna be who?
And whether we wear green
or blue.
But one thing we can all agree on to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Wear a mask.
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 The ball's in your court, Michigan.
Excited to have you with us on the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl alongside Tyler Keith here in the studios of Civic Center TV and 89.3 in the West Bloomfield area. We also want to say thank you today to our Facebook partner of the day, the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce, for live streaming today's Megacast on their Facebook page. We're going to round out the show today, bringing in Rebecca Salmonen-Witt. She is the Chief Development and Communications Officer for the Detroit Historical Society. Great to have you with us on the Oakland County Megacast.
Oh, so great to be here. Thanks for having us.
For those that maybe aren't familiar with the Detroit Historical Society, fill us in about the society and what you offer to the community.
So the Detroit Historical Society is almost 100 years old. Our 100th anniversary will be next year. We were founded in 1921. The society operates the Detroit Historical Museum and also the Dawson Great Lakes Museum on Belle Isle. And we also take care of nearly 300,000 of the city's artifacts from over 300 years of history in the city. So we our mission is to tell Detroit stories and why they matter. We collect those stories from people, from objects, from kind of everywhere that we can find them. And then we tell the stories in engaging and interesting ways inside the museums.
Right now, across the United States, there has been a big pushback on some of the monuments that have been standing in our communities. I read a post on social media the other day where someone basically said, our history can't be erased. We need to acknowledge the history and grow and learn from it. And for the Detroit Historical Society, how important is education about where we came from and why it matters?
Oh my goodness. So, that's the core of what we do. We really think that a community can't become a community that learns and grows within itself until it shares its history. We can't move forward to be the kind of community that we really want to be unless we take a page from the history books and really learn from what we have been through in the past. We presented an exhibition on Detroit 67, the civil unrest that happened in 1967 in Detroit. And we used a different method of putting that exhibit together. We really went out and interviewed everybody we could find. Over 500 people gave oral histories for that exhibit. And it really allowed us to kind of dig down into that history and present it in a way that people weren't used to seeing from us. That exhibit ended up winning every major award for museums in the country, and last year it took second in the world. And the reason is because the community came together to talk to us about what was important about that story, what was important about that history, and we were able to put it together in a way that engaged the community now and created the opportunity to have contemporary conversations about this history that is absolutely so relevant to what our country is going through right now with the, the struggle for social justice that's happening across the country right now. That history of what happened here in Detroit in 1967 is one that can be instructive to people all across the country. We get calls about it all the time. It's just a really good example of how important that those moments in history are for what we're going through as a society today.
And every perspective is different and every perspective matters. I love that you went out and you captured their stories. I wonder, from a historical society standpoint, what's it going to be like to document what we're going through right now?
Oh, such a great question, because what people don't think about that your historical society does for you is that contemporary collecting. So what we are going through right now is absolutely historic. From the social justice issues that we talked about to, of course, the COVID-19 stuff that we're all experiencing right now. So our historians are out collecting stories right now of what's happening during this time. In fact, your listeners and viewers can go to our website and create their own oral history, leave their story so that it'll be permanently archived for future Detroiters and people across the world to remember what this time is like. We're collecting artifacts for the time right now so that in 50 years or 100 years or 200 years, we have the stuff that tells the stories from this time so that people can learn from what we've gone through and hopefully have a better result for themselves.
It is a fascinating time in our history. So many museums right now are struggling because, you rely on visitors and ticket sales. And are you currently shut down and doing things virtually? What is that world looking like for you right now?
We were shut down until mid-July. So in mid-July, the governor allowed museums to reopen. And so we are open. And please come and visit, because we've got a lot of really cool stuff, the permanent exhibitions that are there all the time. But every year we open 8 or 10 new exhibits. And we've got a new exhibit actually opening this weekend. And we opened another one a couple of weeks ago. So lots of reasons to come and visit. The Detroit Historical Museum, which is right in Midtown on Woodward, 72,000 square feet. I did the numbers one day after we went through and kind of did our time ticketing and made sure that we could present a safe experience for our visitors, and found that every visitor throughout the course of a day at the Historical Museum had 14,000 square feet to themselves. So it's really easy to socially distance in our museum. It's a big place. There's lots to see, 3 different floors of really engaging exhibitions. And those continue to be available. We're open Thursday through Sunday right now. Our museum on Belle Isle, the Dawson Great Lakes Museum, is open Friday through Sunday right now as well. So plenty of reasons to come. Of course, while we were shut down, we, like every museum across the country and really across the world, pivoted to a lot of online and virtual programming. And we're continuing with that. That's not, you don't roll that back once you go that direction. What we found is that we've got staff members who were really great. It was like a stored up desire that they had to make this virtual programming, and they were great at it. And so we premiered a lot of virtual programming during that time, and that will continue. In fact, our major fundraiser of the year, the Society Ball, which happens in January each year, is going to be a fully virtual experience this year. And so you can, participate in that experience in a whole bunch of different ways. Of course, it's a fundraiser, and so, we'll have our normal folks who want to support the work of the museum, who do that in a similar way that they have even when it's not virtual. But it gives an opportunity for a lot more people all across the world to participate in our programming too. So in a way, the push toward virtual programming has been really good for us as an institution, because it's given us the opportunity to make so much more of our collection of the stories that we tell, of the programming that we present, available to people all across the world. Whereas, if you were in Paris or Hong Kong, you wouldn't necessarily make your way to Midtown Detroit, to the Detroit Historical Museum. Now you can tune in and participate in that programming and see the really fabulous artifacts that we've got in our collection online.
Rebecca Thalmanen-Witt, the Chief Development and Communications Officer at the Detroit Historical Society, is with us today on the Oakland County Megacast. And Rebecca, for those that do visit, you mentioned earlier that there's 14,000 square feet of space for every visitor, typically in a typical day, to the Historical Society's Historical Museum. With all those artifacts that are there, there's still anything that's hands-on at this moment in time? And if that is the case, how are you keeping those hands-on materials safe for those that are coming in?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, because we went through when we learned that we were going to be able to reopen, which was kind of late June. We went through a whole protocol and worked with all of our other museum partners in Midtown to, we actually contracted with a firm called the National Sanitation Foundation, and they created protocols that we all follow in terms of consistently cleaning and sanitation and one-way tracks through the museum so that you're not bumping into other people all the time. And those have been very effective. We do still have some hands-on stuff. So the buttons that you can push and all those kind of things. The main thing that we did there was we got some styluses. Everybody who visits the museum gets a stylus so they can push the button with their stylus, not their finger. And we've got a cleaning crew who is going through the museum on all day long while we're open and cleaning, wiping surfaces, sweeping, cleaning all day long. It's funny because we used to have those folks and say, you've got to stay in the background. We don't want the visitor's experience to be interrupted by you cleaning. Now we're like, get out there and make sure people see you cleaning. So it's a whole different way of doing it, but so important now. And we're really proud that our visitors have had no problem observing masking protocols. They're using the styluses. They're following the arrows on the floor. And so it really is a very safe experience for our visitors.
With that, is there concern about all the cleaning agents in the building damaging some of those valuable artifacts? And, because cleaning supplies can have certain products in them that could be damaging, and you've gone to such great lengths to try to collect and preserve this history. You don't want it to be ruined because you're trying to keep everyone safe from COVID-19.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, museums have their secrets, and we've got the special cleaning agents that make it safe. Of course, our very valuable items that are that would degrade even with human touch are under glass. And so those, we clean the vitrines, we clean the glass, but we don't actually have to come in contact with those really delicate items. Other things we've got cleaning stuff that is both disinfecting and safe for the artifacts. So our museum staff has that pretty well figured out.
Just a couple more minutes here with you before we let you go. I would imagine that this is such a great field trip for parents to be able to take their kids. They're remote learning. They want to be able to get out, explore the museums in our own backyard. If I'm a parent and I'm bringing my child for the first time, what are the must-see exhibits?
Oh my gosh. Well, so you're going to want to for sure see the glancy trains because the kids like that, right? So that's sort of the treat at the end. That's in our lower level where the Streets of Old Detroit are. Streets of Old Detroit take you from the 1840s all the way to the 1900s. And that new exhibit that we're opening this weekend is on Detroit's brewing history, and it's in that area too. And so a little something for the parents in that stage too. You're going to want to see America's Motor City, which is our exhibit that has all the cars in it. It's got a Model T that the kids can touch, and it's got a working body drop from a Cadillac factory from the 80s, so they can actually see the car go up and down, and so that's a really cool one too. Right upstairs, right now in particular, so on our second floor, there's the Gallery of Innovation that kids love because there's got an interactive there where they can make soda pop and make a car and do those kind of things. We also just opened a new exhibit on that floor that is about Detroit's techno music festivals. So 20 years of techno in Detroit, and that's a super cool exhibit that particularly if you've got older kids, they're gonna love, because it's got the beats are worked in there, and the photography is really beautiful and engaging. So that's an important one. And then finally, on that same second floor, we've got our Underground Railroad exhibit, Doorway to Freedom, which leads right into Detroit 67, that award-winning exhibition. That's heavy stuff for your littler kids, but really important. And quite frankly, in the world we're living in, I don't think it's ever too early to learn those lessons. So something on every floor for sure.
Something for everyone to see and do and to experience all that is our history here in Detroit and the greater metro area. Thank you so much for taking time to be with us. We definitely appreciate it, and we encourage everyone to get out to the museum and enjoy what's being offered.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to tell you a little bit about Detroit's history and welcome people down to the museums.
Thank you so much. It's open Thursday through Sundays. That's going to wrap it up for the Oakland County Megacast. We're going to jump out of the show just a little bit early so that we can join the Township Board meeting. This has been the Oakland County Megacast.